welcome back to Blunt Blowin Mama podcast. You guys are joining me on a super amazingly special episode. I know I always say it's a super special episode, but this one really is a super special episode because I decided there's so many conversations we have on this podcast, and we're talking about a lot of important topics relating to moms. And while I do have experience, it's not like my kids are young. They're not that old. Like I live my life a certain way, but like there's other different types of mothering. There's other different types of moms. Some of y'all are on further in your motherhood journeys, and like you can give advice. And I think that there's so much to be gained from conversations amongst women, amongst mothers. So I wanted to kind of bring that to you guys in the Cannamom Roundtable series. So this kind of just came to me because like there was a post on Blunt Blowin Mama's Instagram page, and like there was so much conversation happening, and I was just like, yo, like there needs to be a roundtable. Like we can't have this conversation in comments on Instagram. Like this should be a real life in-person conversation with some of the dopest moms I know. And let's just do it. So it was born, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Send some text messages, some DMs, some emails, and like, let's make this shit pop. And here we are. So welcome to the very first Cannamom Roundtable. Let's just jump into introducing our amazingly fabulous mamas who are here. And we're going to be talking about on this particular episode, pregnancy and conception and postpartum. So the whole gamut of like how you actually got into this motherhood shit in the first place, right? So let's go, like, mama. Introduce yourselves. This is going to be a fun ass conversation. Let's just start with Tammy, and we're going to run this way.
All right, what's up, everyone? I'm your girl, Tammy, aka the Cannabis Cutie. I am an educator and an advocate in this space. I'm also a mom of two. I have a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. How I got into motherhood, the birds and the bees. You know, that's kind of
a little nasty. It felt a little too good.
There you go.
When two people really like each other.
No self-control.
Yes. And I became a mother at 21. So, I have a different experience doing it at such a young age.
Mm-hmm. What's up, y'all? I am Amber, your girl, aka From Carpools to Cocktails. I'm a creative director, freelance writer, and product photographer. I have two kids. They are 11 and 21, a boy and a girl. So I am definitely on the other side of parenting spectrum. And similar to Tammy, when a boy and a girl like each other, that's exactly how we got into this motherhood game. Also a young mom at 22. Yeah. And so I got hella perspective and all the thoughts.
That's what's up, you guys. Hey, what's up? This is Renee. I am half of Puff and Parlay. I am a mother of two kids. One is 17, soon to be 18, my daughter, and my son is 9 years old. And just like the last two, you know,
we got
a little something. Girl, why would you say that on my part?
We all got bamboozled.
Yeah. Men trapped too.
That's a whole nother show.
That is another show. That's another topic.
I think maybe we all need to be around for that one as well.
Yes.
So yes, I'm here to advocate for cannabis. It's definitely helped me on my journey, and excited to share it with you guys.
Hey everybody, I am Cece Counts. I'm the other half of Puff and Parlay, and I have an 8-year-old son. I had him at 40. I tried for many years. I was so into my career. So around 37, 38, I was like, oh shit, let me get this shit together. And it took quite some time. But of course, having a child at 40 years old and the very first time, it was quite scarring. And cannabis has kind of helped me relax a lot bit, a whole ton.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. You guys, we are at such like different stages of our motherhood journey. I love that. As you guys know, my kids are 8 and 4. My oldest is a girl. She's 8, and my son is 4. He's my canna baby. And you guys all know how that goes with these canna kids. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about your life before kids. Like, you know, what role did cannabis play in your life pre-kids? And did you ever feel it would harm your fertility or chances of conception? I've had a lot of moms write into Blunt Blowin Mama and say, like, you know, I'm trying to get pregnant. I'm smoking weed. Do you think that's harming my chances of conceiving? And I always say, look, I don't know, because I've never in my head thought that like weed could stop me from getting pregnant. I've thought about a lot of other factors that have been in my life, but I never thought of weed being that one. But like, what are you guys? What are your takes on that?
Gosh, I took a really amazing course by Dr. Michelle Ross on motherhood and cannabis. She's
Love
a
Dr. Michelle Ross.
neuroscientist.
Mhm.
And I actually learned in her course that the endocannabinoid system, that system in our body that communicates with cannabis essentially and maintains balance or promotes balance in the body, also rules fertility. So cannabis consumption can actually affect fertility, but what they noticed was that it was in women who used inconsistently. And then during certain parts of your cycle, you need more THC or more CBD, and that just depends on like implantation phase. I don't remember the data or any of the studies off the top of my head at the moment, but yeah, it absolutely can affect fertility in positive ways as well. It's something that we have to remember.
For sure. I think so. For me personally, it was one of those like I was kind of a party girl. So, and I own that. I was having a good ass time, which is clearly how I got into this situation. But
I love how having kids is a situation.
Yeah, it's a situation because let's be honest, like we love our kids, but also like y'all are a lot, right? And we didn't know what we were signing up for. Like none of us did. You're like, okay, you think I'm gonna have kids, but you don't think, oh God, this is what it's gonna be like raising kids, right? So you know, it never occurred to me like I could or couldn't get pregnant. And it's funny because my dad is a retired OBGYN.
Wow.
So I can ask him any kind of question. And he's just like, he has the number one he tells women that are trying to get pregnant, relax. Like, stop thinking about it. And that, right. So like, and
so in
as
that
soon
case,
as
what
you
did cannabis help?
So, and it did help with my
relax.
son because when I was trying, in Cece's similar situation, I was in my 30s and trying to get pregnant, right? And the first time it was like, oh, okay, this is what happened. So this is what we're doing. But the second time it was actively trying. And it wasn't until like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to relax. I'm not planning this. I'm not thinking about this. I'm going to get fucking stoned. Like, I'm going to have the time of my life. And then literally like 3 weeks later, I was like, oh,
that good time.
Yeah, like I was literally trying to call I was trying to call the plug. Okay. And they were out and I went to pee and I was like, well, I have this test. Let me just take it. Plot twist. The plug is out for a reason, girlfriend.
Wow.
So yeah, like I feel like, you know, it's a beneficial thing, but also similar to what Dr. Ross was saying, like, yeah, I can understand and it makes sense that it would be like certain times like, maybe not the best for you.
Yeah, I think like anything and everything, you know, a little more of something or a little less of something at certain times. In my situation, I was just consuming recreationally for fun. You know, I didn't really see the benefits of cannabis or actually really tune into the benefits until after I had my kids.
Right.
So it was really before just a good time, which, you know, is why and how I have kids.
You was having too much fun. Whoops, that didn't work. We having a little fun. 9 months later, we got a souvenir.
Listen. Came for the party, came home with a little something.
But I think if you're really like forcing it or like really trying to make it happen, our body does react to that, you know, and cannabis can help ease that feeling or situation, you know?
I mean, that's what happened with me. I think it was forced. And that's why it took 2 years. Yeah. Because you're the whole stress of it. And I think that along with this cannabis journey that we've been on with Puff and Parlay, you start to find that you had your own stigmas to break in your mind. Right. Especially, you know, my generation, you hid it. You know, it's just now. I know a lot of people my age that still hide it. And at the time when I was trying to, I gave up everything. Like I was even a vegan. Like I was trying everything.
Oh wow, you were serious.
You were serious.
No, for real.
Damn, you gave up dairy and
Can you imagine how grumpy I was for those 2 years?
That's exactly why.
Yeah. You have no ice cream.
So it was just really stressful. And looking back and knowing what I know now, the education that, has been dropped on me in the last like 4 or 5 years, I'm like, if I would have just.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I could express that, yes, it's not for everybody, and I understand the worries and the concerns, but anybody, when you're trying, and especially, it feels like this is your last chance. I really think that it would ease the situation for both partners, actually, because the men get stressed after a while too. Like,
I smoked hella weed while I got pregnant with both children, was not trying to get pregnant at all as a married woman. Like, kids were just not, I had ideas of a career and so much more before I had kids. And I was baked, when I had sex. I'm pretty sure I was baked when implantation happened. Like, it was just a part of my life. I was just newly exposed to the plant with my first pregnancy just for 2 years. And I was fully in advocacy mode unconsciously. So cannabis was a part of my life and becoming a part of my identity. So if women are worried that cannabis consumption will affect your ability to get pregnant, I think what every woman has said here today is it's your state of mind. Women that over prepare, they want a clean body, like your story, have fertility issues. And then the ones that are out drunk, mushroom, eating bad, not sleeping, having the time of their life are like, oh my God, I missed my period.
Back Red Bull.
Because before I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, like my birthday was literally like 3 weeks before. And when I tell you, we had a good time.
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's probably conception. That was conception time right there.
And it's funny because I look back and I'm like, I remember finding out and being like, oh shit. I was not concerned about the weed at all. Was not concerned about how that would affect her. It was literally because I knew I had just dropped ecstasy like 2 weeks before and was like,
Okay, well let's get into it. Let's get into it. So like, what ways did you guys use cannabis during pregnancy? Like, what were your trusted products and brands? I know that you guys all have multiple kids, and as we all know, the first pregnancy is not like the second pregnancy or the subsequent ones, right? Yeah. Like that first time, you're super cautious. You're like, I'm gonna do this shit right. I'm not gonna fuck up shit. Like, you got me fucked up. I'm the best mom ever. This baby's not even here yet.
Right.
Like, look at this bassinet. Like, you're nesting like a motherfucker. Like, your body is pure. You're like, no. Not even champagne on New Year's. Well, okay, maybe champagne on New Year's. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Okay, but like you're preparing, and so for me, that was my first pregnancy, and then I started Blunt Blowin Mama, and I started talking to all these moms who were like, "Girl, I smoked weed the whole pregnancy, took a bong rip before I went into the hospital, and had my baby." I'm like, "You guys were taking bong rips before going into the hospital?"
I'm so mad,
so mad. I am so mad.
Like, I am why ain't nobody so disgruntled that we could do that?
Right? Nobody was saying nothing. It was all because we're all so in the closet.
Yes.
And it was like you only talk to certain friends.
So what did it look like for you guys? Like, how were you consuming cannabis during pregnancy?
I wasn't.
Or were you not?
I wasn't. No, like with my first one.
Not.
Absolutely. With my first one, did not.
Amber and Cece.
Yeah, my first one I did once because I had terrible morning sickness. And in your first trimester, they don't tell you this in the movies. You lose weight because you can't eat.
Yes.
And I could not eat and I was miserable. So I did consume that one time to eat. Maybe
and
twice.
How did you feel? Like, did you feel guilty, Tammy, or were you like?
I felt terrible, but I also felt good and relaxed and able to eat and comfortable and like joy, because there was just like this gloom and doom around pregnancy for me. I was 21, my junior year in college, the internship of my life. Everything was like going straight up. Like, I have a job once I graduate. It's the whole reason why I'm here. Yeah. Like, I'm set, and now I'm pregnant. I was so depressed. So that once or twice, it may have been twice, that I consumed was amazing. Now my son, different story.
I want to hear like Amber, and then I want to hear from you, Cece. Like, why did you guys decide not to consume during pregnancy? So go ahead, Amber.
Me, because I was hella young. There was nothing. I was in my early 20s. Like, had just had my 22nd birthday. And there was nothing, no information or anything about whether this is safe. And like I had said, my dad is an OBGYN. So like, I'm already knowing that they're going to test everything, right? And he's like, I was living in Atlanta, and he like, it's basically, you're a Black woman in the South. Like, do not fuck around and do anything dumb. Like, you can't. But I remember coming back here to California for Christmas, and we were going to dinner with some friends, and they were hotboxing the car in front of us. And when we got out and we parked, I was like, oh my God, you guys smell amazing. And I was like, can I just sit in the car for like 5 minutes? And my ex-husband was like, no, like, are you fucking crazy? Like, they wouldn't even let me like smell the martinis when they passed it by. Like, it was so not fair. And all I wanted to do was like be around it. Like my friends were smoking and I would just sit in the middle of it. So technically I wasn't consuming, but I was around it. But I also didn't like the smell of it in the beginning because I was so sick and everything made me nauseous. But it was just one of those things where I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I already have my own stigma because I'm young. I'm not married, right? And I'm a Black woman in the South. Same as Tammy, finishing up college. Like, this is literally like everything is being set up and then the rug just kind of got pulled out from underneath me. So in order to combat that, I was just kind of like, okay, like you were saying, I'm going to be this perfect, like,
be the model mom.
Like, yeah, I was literally like, you could not tell me shit. Like,
all my shit's together.
All my shit was together because I knew that people were going to talk so much shit. So do not give them one more thing to talk about, right? So yeah, for me, it was just like with that one, I was like, oh, no, I can't. But I remember being like, I cannot wait until this baby is born because I just want to smoke a blunt with my friends really quick. And then having like 2 hits, like my next birthday, I had like 2 pulls and I was done. I was like, I am blown. Like, this is just, but it felt so good.
Oh my goodness.
I felt like me again.
Yes.
And that's what was the most important was like, you don't have that connection with yourself in the same way because we all use it like as ritual, right? And I feel like that's the one thing that we use it to like reconnect with our own self, whether, we know it or not. We have little smoke breaks with ourselves and like, okay, I'm going to hit this really quick and then I'm going to go fold laundry. And that's what it would be like, okay, I'm going to go hit this really quick in the garage and then fold baby clothes. And like, it's a contradiction you feel like, but you're like, well, now I'm jamming folding the baby clothes. So I don't know.
And Cece, what about you? Like, why did you decide to not consume?
Again, I was trying to, this is my chance. It took forever. Like, if I could bubble wrap myself, I probably would have. So I was not taking any chances. Like, I stopped working, everything. Like, I was like, no, I nothing can happen. And then you hear all the stories. I was going to be 40, right? I was going to be 40, and they make you go through, the higher chance of, having.
They were scaring you. Yeah, they scare you.
And so
High
I was
risk.
like, I was like, no, I need to. But had I known, it just would probably be, way less of a struggle for sleeping. I definitely would have used more so for the sleeping issue because. I have a very narrow pelvis and my son had very long legs and very long arms.
I can feel that right now. I'm like,
same.
I just didn't sleep at all. So I would have, for sure. And so, everything is in retrospect, but, I'm happy he's here and, I can't go back, but I definitely, by seeing so many women and speaking to so many women within the industry or just women that smoke and don't want anybody else to know, there's just so many more women that really actually smoke throughout their pregnancy and you see their kids and their kids are fine. They're fine. I have yet to run across, not to say, everybody's different, but the kids are fine. Yeah. The mom is fine.
And I would be, I often say that like a lot of moms who smoke weed or who use cannabis during pregnancy, they always say that like, my kid is a fucking genius. My kid skipped a grade. My kid was valedictorian. My kid is this and that. My kid speaks 3 languages. I'm like, who are these superhuman babies? And so I've always heard that and hearing that, I was like, these women can't all be lying. And if things are happening, like these babies do have disabilities or whatever that may be, I don't think it was the cannabis. Like, and even babies who have disabilities and their moms still consume cannabis, they'll be like, but my kid is still hitting milestones. My kid is still doing this, that. My kid is still excelling, even in spite of, or, because whatever, hold up. Even though they have a disability, like, hold up, I'll say this right. Even though they have a disability, they're still hitting their milestones and they're still doing things that are like, wow, impressive, because I would say of their endocannabinoid system being hella balanced. And they're just able to kind of like, I look at my son, like, I smoked weed a little bit in the first trimester when I was pregnant with him. And then I like had an edible that went really bad at the beginning of my 3rd trimester, and I was like, oh my God, you do not do this pregnant. But like the dose was too high. I didn't know. It was a shit show. I thought I was gonna die, and I was so pregnant. I was just like, oh my God, is my baby moving? Like, what's happening? And but we all survived, and he's a fucking genius now, like a little baby Yoda. Like I don't know. I would look at him, and I'm like, first of all, his memory recall at 4 is amazing. He remembers shit from age 2.
I love that.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
I'm like, I actually need to be really careful right now because he's gonna remember this shit. Like
Right.
he's
Yeah,
gonna be one of
right.
the few people at 25 that remembered age 4.
Yeah.
And nobody remembers age 4. So like I know it's cannabis, and I know it's because like there's just things that don't bother him. He's very emotionally intelligent. He is able to like, he's just like, okay, like very unbothered. I think it's also because he's a Capricorn, but I've also, shout out to
I was like, I
Shout out
remember
to
things
Cam.
from when I was 4.
But he's just like, he's vibrating so fucking high, and we'll get into this in a later conversation, but like I even gave him CBD when he was a baby. So like I know my baby's on like some other shit, like, and I'm with it. Like he has an amazing appetite. He's hitting all his like developmental milestones. He is my like favorite person in the world.
I love that. Oh.
So happy he's here. So anyways, okay.
Little boys.
I know, little boys
Yeah.
in their mama.
I know, bro.
So okay, so you guys, those of you who did use cannabis during pregnancy, like what did you use and what did you trust and who did you talk to about it?
Ooh, okay. So for me, I made sure to not consume any smoke with my son. And then I consumed in the parameters of when I knew I wasn't going to get any testing. So I stopped at 7 months. And then I believe I started at about 3 months when I hit 2nd trimester. And that's because my son was so heavy. Like he was so dense. My poor little body. My son is 8 and we're about the same size. He's huge. He is huge. And for me, carrying him was so taxing on my body. Like I felt like I was running, but I was sitting down and just sweating profusely, body burning like I need to get off the treadmill. So I consumed with a volcano. I kept it to the chest. I knew, my then husband at the time knew, my twin and his wife were the only 4 that knew about it. And now that I'm looking at reports with my daughter, I took Tylenol PM every day to sleep. And the reports that are coming out now about Tylenol PM, there's no correlation with that in cannabis. And with my son, I was not using Tylenol PM. I was using cannabis. And like your son, he is very intelligent. Socially, he's awkward, but I think that's just because he's really smart. And a lot of people he's not on the energy of children his age. That's for sure.
That's how I feel
So
about
he's
my
kind
boy.
of a nuisance to other children because he's more so, he still has that like innocence, but he's very intelligent and he's hilarious.
My
Such a good
11-year-old
kid, so
loves him.
peaceful. Yeah, he's so peaceful. And then my daughter is just like lit. She's also 12. So, hormones are really, but I didn't consume with her and it shows.
That's how I feel about my daughter. Like, first of all, you're going to see her before you see me. She's going to come in the room. Like, she's just like, she's like me times 1,000. Like she's like a light bulb that like comes into the room and lights it up and burns it up. But I never consumed cannabis when I was pregnant with her. But I was young when I was pregnant with her, and I was turning up some Migos and having a good ass time and pretending that I wasn't pregnant, even though I was pregnant. I don't know who does that, but right? I'm like, we outside, bitch. You're pregnant. Get away from the bar. I'm like, we outside.
Listen,
So
from
yeah.
the back, you wouldn't have known, and then turn around like, whoa, sister. Like,
Period. Okay, so Tammy, I love that you said that like you didn't inhale smoke, and
Correct.
I want a lot of moms to like hear that. And here's the thing: nobody's judging you. Like if you're doing what you have to do to take care of yourself, to be well, to enjoy this pregnancy, to enjoy this time in your life, sis, by all means, like we want you to go for it, but there are better ways to access this plant and to ingest this plant and get the benefits during pregnancy that don't involve harmful smoke. Like even low key, high key, I shouldn't be smoking weed the way I be smoking it and I'm not pregnant. Like there are better ways. There's using hemp wick, right? There's using like the mouthpiece that you can use if you are smoking. But I always advise pregnant moms, get yourself a dry herb vaporizer like a Volcano, a portable one. There's tons of really affordable ones that will fit inside your pocket, put inside your little purse, whatever you got to do, and have a little quick hit. It's very discreet. There's not a big smell. You're also vaporizing. It's baking the weed essentially in this little oven, and you're not inhaling any harmful carcinogens.
Because you can control the temperature, and also make sure to only consume to the point that you need it. So I'm not trying to get like super baked just for the heck of it. It's my back hurts, my feet hurt, I can't sleep, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm only 4 months in. Like I went to my ex-husband's work, and one of his coworkers was like, "Oh, you look like you're due any day now." I was at month 4.
Oh my God.
And so I was just huge and big for no reason. So for me, it was all about the minimum amount that I needed to feel comfortable and relaxed, because that benefited him too.
Exactly. And you guys, like, don't underestimate the benefits of a good topical. Yes. Like Tammy, I had big ass kids, like small frame, big baby. I birthed 2 9-pound, 1 ounce babies. One was a Canada baby and one was not. Okay. But let me tell you something. They were the same weight. So don't let people tell you that because you smoke weed, your baby's going to be a small size, because can't confirm that's not true. My kids are both 9-pound, 1 ounce. One was a Canada baby, one was not. But you know the difference between those pregnancies? I was happier carrying that 9-pound, 1 ounce baby because I had my topicals that I was slathered on the outside of my body. On the inside, I was putting in some of that good CBD, some of that good THC.
I wish that I had topicals like available with
like they are now.
Yeah, because
I didn't know.
I have a narrow pelvis is the same. And I literally just told my daughter this not even 3 weeks ago. Like, when you get pregnant and your pelvis expands, first of all, they don't tell you any of that shit, right?
They do not.
So I woke up thinking I'm dying. And I call my doctor, and she's this wonderful Black woman. She said, "Oh, baby, no. Your pelvis is just expanding. You're good." And I was like, "But do I have to go to class? Like,
right?
Because I'm not trying to do this like this." And she's like, "No. I'll write you a note. Like, you're good." But if I had a topical, like, I can't even imagine the difference that would make. Because then you're in pain, and then now you're tightening those muscles that you're supposed to need later on. That's not helpful to anybody. That's not a conducive, like, birthing environment. So yeah, like, God bless the topicals.
And I tell all the moms,
essential.
Like, you have to, like, if I were to do pregnancy again, you know, like, maybe I'm still young, like, I got some time, you know, I might be like, pop one out real quick. real quick. But like, if I do it again, I'm taking CBD baths from the moment I find out I'm pregnant until I give birth. Like, because your body, so much of what's hard on pregnancy is in your muscles and in your joints and in your body. If you're able to soak and get rid of that inflammation and like let all those good essential oils into your body and just relax that body, like, I will probably be bopping around like Rihanna, which Rihanna, honestly, Rihanna's at least doing CBD baths, like, because sis is way too glowy and happy in those pregnancies, and I love it. But I do think that, like, cannabis helps so much with like you leaning into pregnancy, leaning into this change instead of fighting against it, instead of being stressed about it. Like, you should be very present and aware during this time, because guess what? There's no redos. You can't be like, I want to do pregnancy. No, girl, you got to get pregnant. You got to start at 0.
Well, I mean, for women that are curious about it, but they don't want THC in their system, or I guess not even worried about the THC. THCA is a really good way to do it. Making cannabis tea that's not going to get you intoxicated, because that cannabinoid is not going to cross over into the placenta. It just can't. So that's one way. And that's the Jamaican tea that the women would drink back in the 70s that they did the study on. There was no conclusive data that it affected the children in a negative way. And THC tea was something that they would do. So that's something to consider, that you don't necessarily even need to combust it. Like, add it to a smoothie, put it in your juicer, the leaves. Like, there are other ways to go. You can get it without, you know, being high, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. All right. Pregnancy, check. What about CPS? What about Department of Family and Child Services? Or, you know, like, what about social workers coming in? Were you guys concerned that, like, you would have problems with that? Because me personally, I was like, I'm Black. I look young. I am young, but I probably look even younger to them. So they're gonna be like young, black, like
drug user.
And so it's just like I can't give them anything because I can't
Right.
walk in here with my diploma and my degrees and be like, look, I'm educated. Like I'm not, like I shouldn't have to do that anyways.
Right.
Everybody should get decency and respect when they go into any kind of health medical professional or doctor or whatever. That doesn't always happen. So I always tell moms, I'm like, look, especially if you're black, especially if you do have like if you don't have a private insurance, if you are low income, like these are all red flags. Unfortunately, you walk in and you're black or brown, that's a red flag. If you walk in, you're low income, red flag.
Yep.
So like if you add to that you are consuming cannabis, they're going to say drug user. You're going to have a lot of problems in pregnancy. It will never be easeful and a joyous process if you're going to continue with that particular provider, right? But I always say, like, look, stop third trimester. Like, I'm sorry, I know it fucking sucks. I don't want to say it, but you live in Alabama, you live in Georgia. Stop at third trimester. Don't tell any fucking body. Just like the military, don't ask, don't tell.
Yep. Don't even talk about it on those baby apps.
No, especially not there.
I think it's something you just keep between you and your partner or
those
just yourself.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you know your intention. Now, if you're one of those women who is just doing it to do it, you might need to check that behavior.
That's a whole nother situation.
That's something that maybe we need to go explore in therapy, But if you have good intentions, do it. And for me, I was scared, for sure. I'm so scared. Like, that's a reality for our community. We see people take children from families for nothing, and then they come back, and it has wrecked the family for sure. Like, whatever harm you were trying to protect from is what you ended up creating. So that's a fear that I have, especially as women of color. Like, so women who have socioeconomic status that is lower tend to be more likely to consume drugs during their pregnancy. Is it because of their circumstances? Potentially. Absolutely. But that is a factor that they're going to look at. And I don't know, maybe for me, because I had degrees, because I am married, my husband is here, I'm a healthy woman, everything was healthy about my pregnancies, I'm not a red flag. But so maybe I had that privilege. But yeah, it's something that every woman I think is concerned about at any given time for decisions that we make. I mean, kids have been taken away for being vegan. So
right.
Yeah, for sure.
I just remember my first OBGYN with my daughter asking, like, they're doing the whole intake form, and she's like, do you smoke? And I said, not cigarettes. And I was not looking at her. I was looking everywhere but at her. And she like paused and said, noted, and then kept it pushing. And then even with my last one, like, God bless her, she was amazing. But she was like, I said the exact same thing. And I looked her dead in her eye and was like, and she was like, okay. And I was like, so we're good. And she's like, we're good. I was like, good to know, because you just don't know. And like Tammy said, like, you're a Black woman in the world. Like, it does not matter. It doesn't matter how educated you are, what you look like. We look like we're 12.
Who you know.
Right. And then the way that things are now, it's even worse. So like, definitely to other moms that are out there, like, be careful with yourself. And if whoever you're talking to, trust them, but also know that you've only told like 2 people, so it can't get beyond that circle. But like, like the number one thing is like a doctor you can trust, which I know is super hard, but that is the number one biggest thing that can help a woman go through her pregnancy is having a medical professional that you trust, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a doula, midwife, or whatever, like someone that you feel very comfortable being like, yo, I am in the most pain ever. Like, is there a tea, a tincture, or something that I can drink? Because I remember even when my daughter, people were like, oh, you can't even have tea because it's got caffeine in it. I was like, you guys have lost your fucking minds. Like, I can't have coffee already. I can't drink. I'm not smoking weed. I'm not giving up tea. Like, this is what we're not doing. Like, let me have my one little bite.
I even thought I wasn't supposed to eat sushi, so I was like, y'all got
lunch meat.
Lunch meat, you can't. There's so much
hot dogs.
Lunch at work.
Like you said, that second pregnancy, I had ceviche at least once a week with my son.
Fuck out of here.
First pregnancy, I didn't go near fish.
just a little California roll. Like, there's not really anything.
Yeah,
in
there's
there.
nothing. It's fine. Like, you're fine. And the kids are fine.
The
So
kids are fine.
we're good, y'all. Like,
But what about like they'll even prescribe you something? You know, they'll prescribe you something for that nausea. And I had
Zofran.
I don't want to take
serious
any of that stuff
nausea. Like
Listen.
morning sickness was not a thing. It was
all
all day sickness.
Yes,
Yeah.
all day.
Mm.
So when I made the decision to consume, it was during those moments
Mhm.
of not feeling okay,
Mhm.
rather than taking something that was yet recalled.
Zofran
Right.
causes birth defects, and that is exactly what they give you for nausea. My cannabis is not going to give my child birth defects. Like, how is this plant in which this baby has a system already, this baby already has an endocannabinoid system. Like, the audacity of them giving out that dangerous of a drug to so many women. It's like, what are you
Absolutely.
trying to do?
And why are we so quick to trust and take that?
Oh my gosh, I
Well,
took
there
it
was a
once.
mom that was on my podcast who took it during her pregnancy multiple times. Her daughter was born, and now her daughter has heart issues.
Yep.
And it's because of her taking Zofran during
Oh my
pregnancy
gosh.
for
To feel better.
morning sickness. Yeah, for HG. So it does happen. This is a very real thing. This is why we're having this conversation, so that we can let moms know that there are other options, y'all. We don't gotta there's other options. And if that doctor, nurse, whoever does not support you, that's not your doctor.
No.
Like, you can fire your doctor. You can say,
can.
you know what?
And we did. Well, it wasn't.
Go
and it
on.
wasn't,
Let's
and
go.
it wasn't during pregnancy, but it was after when we had my son. I wasn't producing enough milk, and so it was kind of like this whole stressful thing. And so we were looking into formula, but we were seeing that formula. It's like crap. Like, formula is literally like the worst thing, and they're starting to find this out like later. But we went to our doctor, and she kept forcing the formula on us, and then we actually my better half actually started to make a hemp-based formula for him instead.
Oh, I
And so
love
we
that.
put him on that, and we told our doctor, and she was completely appalled, and she was like, I wouldn't do that. Here's this formula, and was like pushing. She had a cabinet full.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, they
What?
also
She
get
had a cabinet
because
full.
they
Have
get
it, yeah.
kickbacks.
Oh,
They
Right.
get a percentage.
And she
Yeah.
was forcing it on, trying to force it onto us, and we never went back to her.
Wow.
But I
And
love that
just
you
because
had
it
the
was the-
foresight to like be like, yeah, we're done. We're
Right.
not
Yeah.
even gonna.
Like, you're not
Continue
listening to
on
me.
your
You're
own.
not
Yeah.
hearing me. You're
Right.
not supporting
Yeah,
me.
you
And it
should
was
feel
hemp.
supported by your
Yeah,
Yeah,
doctor.
it was hemp at that. It was like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's people, a medical doctor still not understanding the difference too with that.
You know, I'm sure the doctor, from their perspective, have seen families do that to a child's detriment.
Mhm.
And as a practicing physician, that has to be very frustrating.
Mhm.
So they're coming from a place of their experience and expertise, and we don't have that. We don't know what they've been through. But I do think that there's a better way for doctors and patients to be able to have conversations. Like, a doctor should almost kind of be like a therapist. Like, well, what makes you feel this way
Yes.
about it? And, you know,
Right.
maybe debunking some of whatever it is that you believe to be true, or maybe they can empathize and say, yeah, I understand why you feel that way. I've seen that. So I do think that doctors maybe have like a knee-jerk reaction because maybe he's had patients die because of this. You
And
know?
I get that. I would feel more that way if she wasn't pushing.
Bless you.
Exactly. But
Right.
that's also the
And so
conflict.
the trust
yeah.
part, I was like done with.
And that's the thing
trust
is like
part
it becomes
when she
like,
was
so how
trying to
can I
push
trust you
the
if
formula.
if you like the fact that you're saying like she opened a cabinet and has the full on
Right.
Like-
Red flag.
it's always, you know that doctors get really nice checks from the pharmaceutical reps for whatever brand that they're repping, and they're
Mhm.
pushing and they're continuing to push on their patients. But it's always stressful as a parent when your doctor is pushing one thing and you're like, no, this is the thing that's happening with my child, and this is why this is not working. Similar situation, but like we wanted to switch formulas,
Mhm.
and I was like, I don't know what it is. Oh, it was a soy-based formula versus like the regular,
Mhm.
and I was like, it's breaking her out. Like, this is not good. Like, I cannot.
Oh.
My daughter could not handle it at all. And the doctor was like, well, are you sure? And I was like, do you not see the bumps on her back? Like, she's beige. Like, she shouldn't have like little red bumps all over. And she was like, oh, okay. Well, is there like, and then she was at least like, well, what else do you want to try? So that was nice. But like to have that perspective of someone being like, no, you should do this. You should do this. Man, if you don't get out of my face with that, like, I'm gonna go find someone else.
And this is a good way. Oh, go ahead.
And my son, you know, he's tall. He's always one of the tallest in his class. He's on honor roll. He's very functional. And they were, you know, it was a whole red flag for them for being hemp. So
That's crazy.
What? Okay, child.
I have so much gratitude to my pediatrician right now.
Right?
Yeah. She's very open-minded.
Shout out to the good doctor.
I talk to her about.
I was like, shout out to the good doctors. And there are, I don't want to be the one that's like, not all, but seriously, not all doctors. I've spoken to some amazing doctors on the podcast. There are some really great doctors out there. There are networks of doctors who are, if you meet a doctor who's informed about the endocannabinoid system and the cannabis plant, it is because they decided to go that extra step and teach themselves about that and take courses and learn about it. Those are the doctors that you need to seek out and look for. And not all doctors may have the time to be like, hey, I'm going to go and learn about this whole system that I didn't learn about in medical school, because they're not learning about it in medical school, right? So like, keep that in mind as well. But if you meet a doctor who is open-minded and willing to have a conversation with you and be an advisor to you and support you and your lifestyle choices and wants to learn about what's your diet? Like, what are you eating? What are you drinking? In addition, and getting a really holistic picture of your wellness and wanting to work with you, then you found somebody. And there are doctors like that. Yeah. And it's a conversation. And I've had doctors say, like, don't be afraid to like print out a study. Don't be afraid to like submit your actual story as anecdotal evidence for them. And so that they can have that impression, because like Tammy said, they do have a lot of negative impressions. But if you're going to say, hey, I had high blood pressure, I've been taking a little CBD a couple times a week, and now my blood pressure has lowered, let them know it was the CBD. It was the THC, so they can change that narrative in their head. Your anecdotal stories and what's happening to you with cannabis is research. It is evidence. So look at it as that and submit it as such. And I think we'll really push that narrative forward when it comes to like these healthcare providers. Let's move on to
that deserves
so I want to talk about postpartum and breastfeeding. We've already kind of got into the feeding aspect of things because, you know, we have our pre-baby lives. We get knocked up. We do this whole 9 months of pregnancy shit, and then we birth these babies, and next thing you know, it's 4th trimester. Next thing you know, oh shit, we got to feed this baby. And you're like, the baby's looking for the nipple. You're looking for the nipple. You're like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
This fucking hurts when your milk comes in. Nobody tells you that it fucking hurts. Okay, somebody told me, but I was like, okay, sure, whatever. But when it came out, I was like, really
it literally curls your toes. Yeah.
Even if you decide
every
to
single
dance.
time.
Yeah.
And if I'm at the store and I hear a crying baby, like this isn't even
this is
fair.
Like physically run out of places like, oh, this hurts. And people are like, what's wrong with you? There is a child 3 aisles over. I can smell them.
And I'm lactating.
Yes, this is not comfortable, y'all.
You're gonna get a block duck. Like a block.
Oh,
The two rocks, the two mics on your chest.
Fever. Full-blown fever.
So how would you guys advise parents to prepare for the 4th trimester and postpartum? And what are the best ways to use cannabis after giving birth?
Okay, this is my favorite one because having had the first one, doing nothing, and then again, trying to be perfect mom and not wanting to ask for help or doing any of that stuff, right? And then completely getting lost in the weeds. So I learned with my second one, have support in place beforehand. Like once you're like, I am pregnant, this is what the plan is, whether it's just you, whether it's you and your partner, whatever y'all decide for what you're going to do work-wise, if you're going to work afterwards. Like I was like, I'm done. So I'm tapping out of this whole rat race situation. I already got one at home, so I got to deal with her. I think I just want to kind of like be like a stay-at-home mom type situation. Cool. That was the agreement and the arrangement. But we had a lot of help in place too. Like my mother-in-law was extremely helpful. She was wonderful. She came over all the time. She helped clean, my mom, whatever, but she was still available for kid pickup and things. So with that one, I had so much help in place, and I was so proud of myself for doing that and being able to just ask for the help because it's so hard for us, right? Like we're like, I got this. I can do this. This is my baby. I'm the only one who knows. Only I can feed this child.
Baby down.
Yeah, put him down. You're not holding him. He doesn't like to be swaddled like that. He likes it. He needs to be up here. He needs to be up here. And you're like, and then everybody's like, just calm down. Like, I got this. And now I'm the lady who's like, give me the baby. Like, I got this. Like, I'm going to put this baby to sleep. And moms are freaking out. So like my biggest thing is have help. Ask for the help. Start with your friends and people you feel really safe with and say little things like, you know, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to keep the house clean. And that's going to be a real big stressor for me. Do you have any suggestions? Ask for shit on your registry, like a house cleaner, like meal deliveries. Everybody thought I was nuts when we did the registry for my son, because it was like half stuff for him. And then I was like, I need a Keurig. I need a waffle maker. Like, I need everything to make my life easier so I can still be a good mom and wife to these people.
That you thought about that.
And that's only because I'd done it. I went through so much shit with the first one where I was just like at my wit's end. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I remember when my daughter was like 2, and I remember thinking like, shit, she's supposed to have like 3 meals a day. I don't eat 3 meals a day. Because when it's not, you know, just baby mush and like nursing anymore, like it's not, you're like, you know,
well, you can't just whip the tit out
like,
anymore.
When she was nursing it, I'd be like, cool, we're good.
You take your baby to restaurants and everything. I'm like, my baby comes to the restaurant, I'm eating, and guess who's also eating?
You know how many times I ate like rice and beans off my kid's head because I dropped it while I was eating and I was nursing. Girl, what
nursing babies know. They know that stuff is just going to smack them.
Chips and dip. Like my poor son had rice and beans on his forehead. My daughter had eggs and grits on hers because that's what I was eating. But like once they got a little bit older. So yeah, it was important for me to be like, okay, these are the things that I know that will stress me out. Food is my number one stressor. Yeah. What are we going to have for dinner?
How are we eating?
I can do middle of the day, but
who's
what
cleaning? Who's doing laundry?
When you hit that 4 p.m., 5 o'clock stretch, especially when you have not a newborn, but that 3 to 6 month old, when you're like, so now you're like wiggly and you don't want to just sit, but like
you might roll off this bed.
Right. But I got to like cook dinner too. Like I didn't sign up for all of this. So yeah, ask for all the help, but like ask early and like do it in ways that feel comfortable, because I know that we all struggle with asking for help, but like that's the number one thing.
I love the idea of putting it on the registry. So
yes,
then it's like you're not asking.
And then it doesn't feel like I'm asking for help. It's very much like, hey, we'd love to register for like
a little passive aggressive
babysitting. Yeah, like for someone to come babysit or to have like so I can go get my hair done.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff that you don't think about, that when you come back, you feel like a whole new woman. So you're ready. You're like, where's the baby?
Yes.
Give me my baby.
And I think there should be classes that men have to go to.
That part.
That they need to know what is needed
to support
us within the household.
Too, if she's not saying anything.
They are like, oh, what?
Well, you know what?
Like completely over their head that we're drowning.
I feel like a lot of men experience their own version of postpartum depression and anxiety and PTSD. Imagine if you had like a scare, you know, I'm not saying any of us did, while you were giving birth, and like while you were out, knocked out or whatever, your significant other, your spouse, your partner, your husband, whoever is having to deal with fielding your mom, fielding the friends who are like, what happened to her? Where's the baby? And they're like freaking out. And so now they're holding that energy to protect you. And they have postpartum depression, anxiety, and nobody is really talking about that. But I thought about it, and I've seen like different cases, and I talked to my own partner and been like, what was up with you? I was going through postpartum depression. He's like, I think I was too.
Yeah.
And
that's real for them too. Yeah. Because it doesn't happen to them until the baby's born. Like we get pregnant and we become moms instantaneously, right?
Right.
And then nothing happens to them. They're just hanging out, and then the baby's born, and then suddenly they're a dad. So now they're having to deal with all this other stuff. But
look over their eyes.
Yes, and they have no idea.
Look.
Even if they have friends who've done it, or like, and it's always funny to me that like they don't necessarily like powwow the same way that we do.
Yeah, I was gonna say they don't talk about it.
No, but like so with my son, it's really funny. His dad and like all of that set of friends, we all had a second set of kids at the same time. So it's kind of cool to like watch the guys kind of like each separately like have compare diaper bags and be like, so this is the one that we got, and this is like manly, like I can carry this.
The stroller right here.
But yeah, and they're like, well, look how I can do this with one hand. Like, look, my guy, like, it's great. Yeah, like but it was very cute, and I always credit him to like, I was like, it was great that you had that because you had other men to talk to, but like the first go round, it was just you and me.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
So like that should definitely be something that's set up, and like if you have a partner and you feel like they might have that issue or something, find some friends that have like baby daddies or good dads in their lives.
Not just any.
Not just anybody. Not like anybody, but like they gotta be like good dads. Like you see
Check
them.
the source.
Yeah, and like have like be like, you know, if you have to set up a play date for the dudes.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's really
No,
important.
that's such a good point, Cece. Yeah, that there definitely needs to be support for men. I know for advice for women, so 3 days postpartum, you're about to have a very huge hormonal shift. And CBD, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Well, for women that are expecting or trying to get pregnant 72 hours later, please have CBD on hand to consume and combat that. Again, I learned this in that Motherhood and Cannabis course by the neuroscientist, Dr. Michelle Ross. Have CBD on hand to consume. Your baby does have an endocannabinoid system. Not saying blast it, but please journal how baby is behaving. And also make sure it's just like drinking. You don't want to consume while you're drunk. You want to wait until you're sober before you give baby milk. Same thing with cannabis. Maybe wait a couple of hours before you feed baby. So that's my advice on like cannabis consumption. And then like Amber was saying, support. You know, for me, I was a stay-at-home mom and like proud of it. I don't have help. And then going from 1 to 2, when I was holding my baby and I hadn't showered in like a week or eaten because my husband was off for work and I was pretty much just me and a 4-year-old and a newborn. And I left my baby on the couch to go take a quick shower. I was gone 5 minutes and my baby was on the floor and my 4-year-old was sitting on the couch and it was just like, okay, I can't do this. So yeah, that whole like, you don't get a badge of honor for doing it all by yourself. You probably get an early death. I think that's your consolation prize.
High blood pressure is your reward.
Ask for somebody to come over and hold your baby to shower or, you know, so that you can nap. Get somebody to make you meals and freeze them. Have your friends rotate and come clean your house once a week. Like really take care of yourself. Postpartum depression is unavoidable. The shift in hormones that happens literally it's depression. CBD, 72 hours, be easy on yourself, accept how you just performed a whole ass miracle. Act like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, you guys, I personally experienced horrible postpartum depression. And after my first kid, everything was fine. I was like, dang, that really sucks that moms are having to go through postpartum depression. Like, that really sucks. And I'm like, oh.
Right.
You know, then it happens. You have that moment, you're like, oh.
But it's also like you don't realize it at the moment. It's not until you come a little bit out of it and then you're like, oh.
But that's the thing about
what that was.
But that's the setting up the support. Because if you had set up the support ahead of time, because I thought about it and I was like, okay, I maybe need like 3 or 4 months of help and then I'll be good. Lies.
No.
I needed
for
like
the rest
a year
for the rest of their lives.
Like at least for that first 12 months, I needed like round the clock help to help me because I was going from, like you said, 1 to 2. So I had planned that first, like I had my mom come stay with me for 3 months. My mom did laundry. My mom was cooking. I was in the bed like a baby. I had a baby and then I was a baby and I was like, mommy.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
But
that's what it used to be. Like years ago, it was a whole village like type thing. You know, a woman gives birth and everybody comes in and chips in to like care for them and do all the things. And we don't do that anymore.
Because we're reborn ourselves.
Well, because we also have this stupid myth of like, we're moms. We are superheroes.
No, we're supposed to talk about it.
We don't.
We don't talk about it.
And when people ask you after your baby was born, they're like, how are you? And you go, oh, we're great.
Because you think everybody else
you know, he's not
good.
sleeping, but it's fine. I'm fine.
I've always been honest. When people ask,
I would be like,
should I have kids? No.
I always say, you know what, like do it when you feel you're never going to be ready for kids. This is just the thing. You can prepare financially. You can be like doing yoga and self-care and in therapy all your life.
Oh, no.
And you're fucking like, you're just like, you got all your shit together and you got the baby's room on. Bitch.
They're coming in to humble all of that.
Nobody's ready for college.
They're really about to test all of
Nobody's
that.
ready for blowouts. Nobody's ready for like.
Your whole gangster is tested because you're just like.
So nobody's ready for losing eyebrows.
On the days you don't want a mom, you have to get up.
You still have to get up.
You still have to get up.
Listen.
Like nobody's ready for when you catch COVID and you still got to take care of your kids or catch the flu or have like
or just you don't feel like doing anything.
Bad period cramps. Guess what? You still got to breastfeed.
Man.
Vending machine. You're a vending machine.
I was like, how am I breastfeeding and on my period? There's this place in hell for a cafeteria. I was so mad. I was like, women would be like, I don't have a period and it's because I'm breastfeeding. I'm like, bitch, no, it's not. Like, I'm bleeding right now and lactating at the same damn time. Like, it's not the same for all of us.
There's a window. Yeah.
I would have been so pissed about that because that was the one upside is like, well, at least I don't have cramps.
No, bro.
Like, but this whole lactating situation.
No, lactating on your period is like some of the worst cramps.
It's the worst cramps because like it was just really bad.
Oh yeah.
And then when you get your first period, your kid can tell because the milk tastes different to them.
Is that
yes.
right?
Yes.
But
that's what period after the baby will get a little fussy.
That first period is also like, oh sweet Jesus, what is this? Like,
but you're also like, this hits different.
Yes.
That period after pregnancy, I couldn't believe it. I was wearing a skirt and I had blood coming down my leg at my mom's house, and I was like, "What is going on?"
It's literally where you're like, so
why is it so heavy?
I was like, I feel like Carrie.
Diapers.
Yes.
Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I was in disbelief. I was in such disbelief. I was like,
this is not okay.
But you're like, and if you're breastfeeding, you're contracting so much. Like your uterus is doing so much contraction. You can feel it like,
that was my favorite thing. I think the doctor was like right after my son was born, and I was like, oh, I can feel my uterus contracting and like going back.
Yeah.
And my god sister is a general doctor. She's a doctor, and she's like in the room with me, and she's like, so really? And I was like, we're not doing this right now. Like, I love you, but no, like, we're not going to have a whole science experiment and discuss my uterus. Like,
but it's
I feel really good right now because they gave me some good drugs, but like, it hurts.
I would say that like, I wouldn't have made 25 months of breastfeeding my son having a period that whole time if it was not for the fact that I was smoking weed. Like, cannabis helped me tremendously. Like, I always struggle like the first 30 days nursing because of getting that latch right, getting baby to get used to that, getting me to get used to baby, and like figuring out like what's our good boob, like what's the good side, like getting that alter. You gotta really be, you gotta get into your groove, and then like once I do that, then I feel comfortable to like smoke weed again. But so that was my approach this time. But I think if I do it again, like as soon as I get home from actually in the hospital, baby, give me some of that candy. The candy will be weed.
Yes.
Give me some of that candy, and having gummies in the hospital because I just feel like why wait? Because your nipples, when that milk comes in, that's a special kind of hell and pain. And it's like if I were on an edible at the time, I would be like, dang, that really sucks. Tense. Like, babe, I'm leaking. Like, can we stop? Like,
look at
this shit. You see that? Like, because having sex as a breastfeeding mom, like, I'll never forget the first time I had sex and like my nipples were leaking and I was on top and I was like, oh my God.
It's so like, you don't know if you're supposed to be like mortified or like, are we just going to rock with this?
And so
because,
he was like, oh shit. That's but like, it depends on your partner. Are they going to match your energy? Or are they going to be creeped out and you're going to be creeped out and then you don't want to have sex again?
Right.
Well, weed helps. Like if I've smoked some weed and he's already smoked some weed and we're flowing and he's like, oh dang. So like he used to think that I was so turned on that like not only was I wop, but I also was just like milky, and it's like, bruh, it's not like okay, yes, I'm like I'm like having a letdown because like I'm relaxed and I'm stress free, but like it's not because you're like turning me on. That's not like my boobs are.
Girl, sometimes you just gotta lie to them.
Just let them have it.
It's all you.
It's all you, baby. Look at what you're doing to me. Shit. That's yours.
I was like, get away from me. You did this to me. This is all your fault
what you did to me. Yes, very much this is all your fault in the first place. Please go breathe in the other direction.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't look at me.
Okay, Mr. so I love y'all's postpartum and your fourth trimester advice. I would say everything that Amber said. Like seriously, like everything you said is like so important. Like don't forget about yourself. Like don't forget about yourself. Did any of you guys like Cece, Renee, like what did you guys experience postpartum?
I had awful postpartum.
Yeah.
Yeah. It so awful that I would never and could never even think of getting into a space of having another child after I had my son. And my daughter, I had her at 25. I did have some postpartum, but it wasn't as bad. I think I just got back into the swing of life and it went away. And after I had my son, which I had him at 35, it was the worst time of my life. Like, that's when I really saw cannabis for the medicinal part. And cannabis was how I even showed up every day to be a mom. So I tried to breastfeed at first and I couldn't. And I just wasn't producing enough milk. And I finally just said, you know what, forget this. Let's just give him formula. And I started consuming. I started feeling better. And then, of course, I mean, it got so bad. I was in like such a mental space of guilt from consuming, guilt from, not knowing what the heck I was really going through mentally, and like all these emotions, all these hormones, just everything scattered. And cannabis was really that, in therapy. Definitely.
Shout out to therapy.
It literally came to a point where I was like, I need help.
Yeah.
I need, like what you were saying, Amber, about like really reaching out. And I think all of us, it's so easy to say, do this, ask for that. I am not the person to ask for help, although I would need it. Like Cece will like just pull up and be like, I'm here, and I'll be like, okay, thanks.
Get you.
You gotta that's the thing, is you have to have friends that see that and recognize that.
Yeah.
And I understand that completely. Like, I'm in a similar vibe. I will do that for my friends, but I'm also like, no, I'm good. I got this. Right?
So,
but you have to have someone who's gonna just be like, girl, sit your ass down. So,
no, and I wish I did do that, and I wish I did have that. And it was just a time. So yeah, I will never have a child again.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Gosh,
but I'm definitely, and I mean, I was prescribed, I don't know, what is it like when you have anxiety and stress,
Xanax?
depression, Xanax, and there's
Lexapro,
like things to calm you down, right? And I was given those things, and I took like half of one of like, I think a 10 milligram or 5 milligram. And the next morning, I literally felt like so woozy. And those things are not questioned as a parent. Even when it comes to CPS, it's like, show us what you have in the cabinet. Show us what, this and that. And when it comes to cannabis, it's like, oh, we need to take a step back and evaluate this on a further note.
Right.
Whereas, okay, we just need to see this. Let's see, the alcohol in the cabinets. Let's see this. Are your kids fed? Are your kids good? Are your kids this? But when it comes to cannabis, something that helps you be a better mother, helps you show up, we are questioned about like we are bad people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all that when you're going through it, and I just love that we've built Puff and Parlay, because it's just gives us that voice, to share our stories and to really just let everybody know that cannabis is so healing and it helps mothers, and we can't feel guilty, because for so long I felt so guilty from something that made me feel so good.
Yeah. Man.
I love that that's like the resounding thing, is that we've all said, and like we all continue to say, is like, it makes me feel really good. It makes me get back to myself. But we've all had that guilt and internalized it in some way. But then like at the same time, we've all flipped the script and are now like in our own respective corners, all doing the exact opposite. Like, girl, you're fine. You're fine. You got this. You got this. Like, if this is, shout out to us, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, having a village is so important. Like, I think for me, my first pregnancy, I had PPD, but it was because I was around a lot of people who were not supporting. They had comments. They had judgments. I am a first-time mother who was not mothered well. And just wrecked my life. That was my perspective at the time. I have no support, but you guys are telling me what I'm doing wrong, but nobody is helping me do right, because they didn't have the tools either, right?
Absolutely.
My second pregnancy, I had about 5 women around me who were also pregnant, and we all had our babies within 2 months of each other. And having that and having conversations and like not feeling guilty for showing up 45 minutes late because I fed the baby, got him in his car seat. He had a blowout. We had to give a bath. He's hungry again. He pooped again. He needs to be burped.
Right.
Like, I'm super late. And, you know, knowing other mothers who are also nursing.
And everybody's
laughing.
chairs.
And then, you know, the formula moms giggling.
Waiting.
Or going out with friends and
Formula
whipping a
moms
titty
are
out.
always on time. Like, we got solid poops over here. So,
Yeah. That breastfeeding poop hits different.
So different. And it is so much.
See, and no one tells you it's going to go up the
it
back.
smears.
Nobody tells you you're going to have a blowout in Target. But no, having that village of other women that, you know, we're all going to someone's house and we're doing the dishes, we're cleaning up, we're playing with the kids, we're talking, we're laughing, some are having wine, I'm smoking weed and talking about it the whole time.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So that is what saved me with my second, and just that I had a much happier pregnancy, I think, and a beautiful birth. I think your birthing process also is going to be a determining factor in PPD. Was it traumatic? I think that affects it big time.
I think that a lot of women don't realize is, and this was my experience, is that I had a really good pregnancy with cannabis. I had a great birth, and then like belatedly almost, I started to develop postpartum depression.
Yeah.
But what was the trigger for me was not even anything in my home or anything. It was the world. It was the environment that we were in. Like, we had started lockdowns. It was like the pandemic at the very beginning, and then like so much isolation, and like me thinking in my head, this was the time I was going to get out. I'm going to reemerge as a mom, blah, blah, blah. No, you know what happened? A bitch was locked down with a baby on her titty, like fucking like, this is it. Like, I never got to go outside. I never got to, you know, like, and just tunneling and spiraling with no support except my therapist. Like, thank God for therapy. I really feel like every new mom should be sent home with an eighth of weed, an appointment with an individual therapist.
Teachers too.
Yeah. An individual therapist. You should be sent home with a couples therapist. If you're in a relationship, you should be also sent home with a pelvic floor therapist who can help you, because guess what, baby? What's happening? Your stomach just went out and it's coming back down.
Yes.
Like, you need some therapy there as well. And a lot of people don't even realize
like,
that.
do we stop to think of what
about
our body goes through? Like, seriously, I never did.
No.
I literally started working like days after. Like, got right back to it.
Wow.
That's because they trick you into thinking giving birth is the hardest part. They tell you that giving birth is the hardest part, and they don't tell you
growing
about
a baby.
after.
Like,
It's
your
the putting your organs
shift.
going back into place.
No,
You
there's
takes
so
like
much.
2
years.
Your uterus literally was like this big.
Your feet
and now I have to
grow.
go back to this big. Like, you're literally.
It takes 18 months to heal from having a baby.
Not to mention
Double
That's why you get a
time.
C-section, ladies.
Listen,
Yeah,
right here,
that's
right.
God
And if
bless
you're
you.
small,
God bless y'all.
if you're a small person, you had all this extra weight, this whole person that you're carrying, and then like, because I remember after my son was like, my joints hurt. Why does my whole body hurt? Like, this is ridiculous. And my doctor was like, "Ma'am, do you know how tall you are?" I was like, "I have tall energy, so in my mind, I am 5'10". In real life, I am 5 feet 4 inches, towering. But like, tiny people, it can't give birth to babies and then think that like we're just gonna bounce back. And we have this myth because movies and Hollywood and celebrities have this bullshit myth, because we don't see people for like the first 3 to 4 months, and then the next time they pop up, they're like beautiful, and you're like, yes, I did not know when I left the hospital I was still gonna look pregnant.
Listen, that is my excuse for looking the way I look for the next 18 months. Fuck everybody in their standards. I just had a baby.
What I would say is,
I'm
like,
chilling.
Do things to make you feel like yourself as far in advance, if you can, plan for it as possible. So like I had scheduled a C-section with my son. And so I knew like on this date I was going in, I was going to walk out with a baby. That's exactly what happened, because that was the plan. Yes. And it was not going to not be the plan. So I was like, okay, since that's the plan, I'm going to get my hair done the week before. Right. So I got some fresh braids. So when you see the little newborn photos, I got them fresh, colorful braids. Just got those done, because I knew that like I'm not going to be able to do my hair for the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And I don't want to worry about doing my hair for the next 6 weeks and 8 weeks. Part. And so it's like the things that you can kind of alleviate, maybe get your nails done beforehand. I got a fresh little Brazilian wax. So I was like, my pussy hair is going to be wild. Let's take it to 0 and like let it reset.
Same, because the first one, I didn't think about it. I couldn't see.
No.
I
Can't get down.
So
Yeah.
the lady came in with the fucking Daisy razor, and I was like, "Oh, ow, no shaving cream,
Don't shave me. That's
She's
why
just
I
like,
remember that.
I was like, "Whoa,
Razor
man."
burn, lady.
So the second time, I was like fully locked and loaded and
Ready,
waxed
baby.
and shebang. I had pedicure and everything.
Ready.
And she was like, do we need to shave? Oh, no, sis. I handled that.
Ready.
And the whole room was dying. I was like, Y'all played me once.
I didn't
I'm
even
not
think
playing that
about
again.
like for a C-section because me, I don't care. You guys see about
But
12
I didn't
vaginas a
want
day.
to
That seems like work.
They
That
gotta
seems
shave
like
you.
too much
Don't
work.
Yeah, they
care.
gotta shave
This
you.
is a work of art.
This
So
is
I'm like,
nature.
Yeah, I needed it all
You
gone.
I'm not
got my
shaving
finger
shit.
with that
Yeah, we
cheap
had to have
ass
that, yeah.
orange razor.
I do not care about vanity. I'm coming to perform a miracle.
You're like, this is what it is.
I know.
Get it
I
out.
love it. 3 of us are like, no. We are locked and loaded. We are waxed.
We're
It's beautiful.
waxed.
Yeah.
Nails were done.
Tendencies here, like,
Nails
look, this is what you
done.
get, man. Like,
I literally went to the
Tired.
hospital like Beyonce, like my team is here. Like,
Not
hair's-
me.
like you have to be. I felt like
Nope.
my first pregnancy, I didn't realize that. My second one, I was like, you need to be your glam before and after. Like you need to
Yes.
make sure that after you get home, you still feel as glamorous as when you went in. So I was like, prepare all your beauty rituals. Did that maintain? No, because
No.
by the time I hit like 9 weeks in, like I was like, oh shit. I'm gonna get this hair. Who's taking these braids out? Like, what's happening? But like,
I'm like, did I do my makeup? I don't even know.
I think maybe to like leave the house the first time, like that first those first 2 doctor's appointments.
that's
like,
raw.
That was like the first real makeup that I put on. Because otherwise, for fucking what? Like I'm in the house.
Yeah.
And people who are coming
absolutely.
over, this is what you get. I am in pajamas. Like you will deal. Like I remember our friend came to visit. And it was a friend from college. He walked in and I'm nursing my daughter. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, first of all, you can see nothing. Second of all, strangers have been in my goods. Come on in, sir. Like at this point,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
Listen, in this ward, you guys look at vaginas all day, every day for years. Like, you don't care. Neither do I. So
Yeah.
let's not play this game.
Well,
I don't want razor burn.
My
I
first
don't
kid,
want
I was
wax.
like, I'm gonna hide like breastfeeding. So I had like the little blanket and everything.
Aw.
So I was like really like dainty with it. Like, oh my gosh, no, I have a blanket. It's okay. Like second kid, tit out, sitting in the middle of the restaurant on the patio. Like, don't give a fuck because it's like, but it's that progression of like
Mhm.
perfect mom to like, I'm just gonna do me. Like this
Right.
is what's comfortable for me. My baby's not complaining. My titty is not even that big. So like stop fronting, you guys. This is mostly nipple that my baby is sucking on right now. Like this isn't
my
even
chest. It's
sexual.
just the
This
top
isn't
half
even
of
like, this is like okay, so you guys, this has been an amazing conversation. Do you guys want to give like one last parting word on like cannabis for pregnancy and postpartum and breastfeeding? Any advice, guidance? Like, go for it.
Do what feels good. Trust your circle. Have a circle. Ask for help. That's it. That's all I got.
I love that, Amber.
For me, this is not going to be the first time where you're going to be faced with a challenging decision that affects your child. So go with what feels right. Even if you're wrong, you're gonna learn. But keep it close. Shut up about it. Don't smell like it. Get yourself some eye drops. Brush your teeth. Lotion. Body spray. Never go to an appointment smelling like it. Yeah, don't listen to the noise around you. Do what's best for you and your child. Only you know what that is. It'll make sense to everybody later on down the road.
Thank
Do
you,
the
Tammy.
research.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the research. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Renee.
I don't know. I think that even if it seems scary for people that are just starting to understand cannabis because it's a little bit more mainstream now and you've been in the closet for a while, it's okay. There's more of us. You don't have to hide it.
Yeah.
And the more that people don't hide it, the easier it is. It's going to be, especially for women, 40 plus that have been used to hiding it for so long.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
You guys are not alone. Moms who smoke weed are not bad moms. And I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you guys for chatting with me about it. You guys definitely tap in. What's y'all's handles? Really quickly again, so you guys can tap in.
At the Cannabis Cutie or Cutie's Revenge if you can't find that one.
I'm at from Carpools, 2 cocktails.
At Puff and Parlay.
At Puff and Parlay.
Hey. All right, you guys, this has been a dope combo. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.